thank you so much for meeting today. I'm really excited to show you what we have for this campaign. I'm going to be putting my order in at the end of this week, so it's great we can meet up and I can put your items down for what you like for winter and spring. As you know, we're moving into summer soon, so it's a good idea to get this order in already, right? Yeah. A lot of very, very popular things. And instead of just, dropping off the catalog and having you pick out based on pictures, I've brought over a sampler of all of our lipstick selections for this campaign, so you can pick out the ones that you like from the catalog here, and we can do some swatches in my little swatch notebook here. I have this swatch tape. It's a light skin color, so we can take a look at kind of how it's going to look on you. Okay, so I thought first we would take a look at the catalog. I'm going to leave this one with you today because there's a lot of other stuff in here maybe that you're interested in. Yeah, like all of the fragrance selections and anything else. So let's take a look at the catalog and then we can pick out which lipstick samples that you want to take a look at. Honestly, it's hard to just look at a picture and understand how a product is going to look. A lot of these lipsticks kind of swatch and have a different finish than what you see in the catalog. Maybe lighter, typically lighter, but sometimes dark or more pink or red. So let's get a live look at them together. So let's look at the catalog first, though. Okay, like I said, this is our winter and spring for this campaign. Just move this out of the way here. So we can take a look at the catalog. As you know, there's of course tons of different makeup selections that you can order. We also have lacquer, lip pencils, eye pencils, blush, eyeshadow. We have our wonderful eyeshadow palettes. We have liquid eyeliner. We have different formulations of mascara. We even have color mascara too. You may need a re-up on your face products. We have foundations in all sorts of shades. Quite a bit leaning lighter, of course. The dark shades are much to be desired, unfortunately, but I'm always trying to tell them about that. of course, we have normal or combination skin, different products for oily skin and dry skin. So, take a look at that. More of different products. And of course, the fragrances. Now, there's a lot of information in here about how to choose a fragrance based on your personality and descriptions of the scents. I recommend if you pick out a fragrance that sounds appealing to you, to let me know, and I can get a sample of it for you to smell before we put an order in. I think it's really easy to get persuaded by the beautiful packaging, but the most important thing is that you like how the fragrance smells, because that's the only way you're really going to wear it every day. Plus, fragrance really does react to body chemistry. So, a fragrance that smells good on your friend, for example, may smell differently on you. So, it's such a personal decision. Okay. Of course, this packaging is always so beautiful. So there's tons of different types of fragrance products too. If you do find one that you enjoy, there's lotions, there's eau de cologne, there's tons of different ways that you can enjoy a particular fragrance. I just love the contrast between these two pages. Moonlight lace, so dark and gothic, and then pearls and lace. Just very girly and light and pink. So, like I said, you can see the moisturizer options, even antiperspirant you can have in your particular favorite fragrance. It's a good way to be consistent, especially if you find something that you feel you would like to be your particular signature. Right? A very special moment. Please take a look and read the descriptions of the scents and let me know which ones you want to try out for next time. Now we are on the color charts. So we are going to be focusing our attention at the top third of the pages here. Because right at the top here we have the lipstick shades that we're going to be looking at today. And we have two different formulations. You can see that it's divided right here. On the left side, we have the color-rich lipstick and color. And on the right side, we have the satin smooth lipstick and color. So, here you can see that these are all going to be the more cool shaded lipsticks. And on the following page, we're going to look at the warm shaded lipsticks as well. And I definitely recommend to pick out some options from both because you can see some colors here even have a little bit of a warmish cast to it, and you never really know what's going to look good on you until you try it. So you can also see up here there's a little key. Red type is the warm colors and blue type is the cool colors. But really that's only relevant for the foundations here at the bottom. You could see the warm and the cool ones. So we're going to still be focusing our attention up at the top here. So let's start going through these different colors because there's a lot of them. So you can see here we have Pleasant Pink, Soft Shell Pink, Fresh Roses, Pinkest Pink, Lotus Pink. And you can tell that there is a little bit of a gradient happening. Up at the top we have the lighter shades, and then the darker shades are at the bottom. And in the middle here are the medium shades. And we could see the same thing happening here with the Sand Smooth lipstick. The Sand Smooth is going to have more of a sheer formulation than the Color Rich, which is going to give you a lot more of an opaque finish, as you can kind of tell by the name Color Rich. So I always recommend picking out a selection of different shades. You may always think, well, I look the best in light shades, or I look the best in very dark shades, but you never know. You might find a dark or light shade that really, really suits you, especially for different occasions. Maybe for daytime, we're looking at lighter shades, and you might want that more daring, darker shade for a special date or a special event like a gala or a charity event or something. So, there's definitely similarities between some colors with only slight differences. You can see that Pleasant Pink, Azalea Blossom, and Almost Violet are quite similar. You can see maybe that Pleasant Pink is slightly lighter, maybe a little bit more gray. blush roses is even a little bit similar here, but looks a little bit more pink and saturated than these ones. It's a good idea to try a selection that maybe you're not 100% sure which shade is going to work the best. So let's flip the page and take a look at the other selections. As you can see, there's quite a big selection here. And maybe you can see too that there's some similarities between warm and cool shades. Let's see if we look at mango, which is a very bright, warm shade, perhaps leaning pink, but a little bit orangey. And then we look at pink lemonade. It's very hard to tell the difference between the two almost. We can only assume that pink lemonade is going to be more pinky than mango, but that's why we do these swatches, right? So we can tell the difference. I find that also to show up in some of the darker shades. I find that the cool tone darker shades lean more pink and purple. And on the warm side we have shades that almost look brown. Here, this side too, you can see that. But also here, kind of a browny shade in these darker satin smooth lipsticks. But we can see just a shade of purple gray in there too. So, another one I find quite similar is this one here, Pink Positive, and then Cottage Rose over here. It's very hard to tell the difference, especially on photographs, so we can look at the samples in person. Okay. And then on the last page here, you can see a really beautiful selection of warm shades, especially if you're looking for maybe a new shade of red. There's quite a nice selection, because maybe you don't know, maybe you want that very beautiful bold red, such as this, silk, or maybe you want something a little bit darker like the exotic melon here. We can try that out. And here, after those color swatches, we can see that there's a selection of colognes for men. So, recommend also going through this and maybe picking out something for the man in your life, or men, and we can try them out as well. we can also do some skincare. This is a helpful article here about determining your skin type. And of course, it's always important to take care of the skin underneath the makeup products. And you may think, well, I'll slap on a little moisturizer and call it a day. But there's other parts of the skin to take care of, like the area around the eyes and the lips. Especially the area around the eyes can be a lot more sensitive than the skin on the face. So it's important to have a special product that's going to work for that sensitive skin. There's just a really wide range of products. I have samples of a lot of these, which I think is helpful to try, because you sometimes don't want to use a full bottle of something until you're sure that you're not going to have a breakout or maybe a sudden skin sensitivity to something that you're not familiar with. So here's also a selection of makeup that's more for sensitive skin types. If you find that other makeup causes issues with your skin, Avon has a special line of products for those types of skin conditions. And here we also have products for those that are prone to acne or blackheads and whiteheads. Can help you solve those issues. And moving into the summertime, we have products with SPF, or products for those who still want to go out there and get a tan. Moving into bath products. If you like to soak in the tub and relax, we have that stuff for you too. And for the hair, keeping hair healthy and vibrant, always important. Like I said, I'm going to leave this catalog with you. That way you can peruse it on your free time. And if there's something in here that you just must have, then give me a call. Like I said, I'm putting in the order at the end of this week. So anything that you would like, I can put you down for it in here. Okay? Alright. So let's return to our color swatches here. Now, let's take a look at the samples. as you can see, I have these small samples of the lipsticks at the top here. In these red containers are the color-rich lipsticks, and on the bottom in the white are these satin smooth lipsticks. On the left side are the cool shades, and on the right side are the warm shades. So let's see. I know you said you wanted to try the terracotta. So let's do that. So let's start on this first page. We can take a look. So I'm going to slide this over here so I can see what colors. The names are all written on the top here. I know you mentioned that you like the look of Park Avenue orchids. Me too. It's such a pretty color. What else can we take? I really like how Cherry Jubilee looks. I find that it tends to swatch a little bit lighter than this picture, but I think we can maybe compare it to Wine Cordial, which is right here. So we have these two colors, we can compare them. And of course we don't want to forget about these satin smooth. You can see that we have quite a big selection of satin smooth. This pink parfait is really pretty color. We can do that one. It's right here. You can see we're kind of organized by cool colors on the left and warm colors on the right. That way we stay organized. So, what else should we try here? I think kind of a light shade might be nice to try. We could try this very bright pink, porcelain pink, because I have a feeling it's going to swatch quite lighter than this. We can also kind of compare it to a similar shade in the color rich, which would be the soft shell pink. Okay, so let's move on to the next page. Take a look here. Still on the cool colors. Quite a bit to pick from, still from especially this satin smooth side. Try this lighter color, Hearts of Pink. I also think it can be helpful to do a little comparison of the raspberry ice and the malted milk, because you see they're very similar looking shades. So let's take the malted milk nice. And let's see. We can maybe try a cool red over here. I really like the look of very, very nice. Just right here. Okay. Let's move on to the warm colors now. So as I said, this is this side of it. Let's take a look. We're on the topic of reds. I don't know if you remember, I pointed out Exotic Melon, which is a darker red that we can use to compare with very, very nice. But also check maybe a medium warm nude, which would be Wood Rose. And we can kind of pick out more of an exotic color, maybe one not many people would pick out out of fear because it's quite a bold reddish orange. Let's take a look at that one, Sun Poppy. I like to encourage people to try out something different because you never know what is going to maybe be a surprise for you, something that really looks nice. We can also pick out kind of a brownish shade because we're going to be trying this molten milk and raspberry ice. And down here we have Copper Kettle and Cashmere Brown. Kind of looking at that Cashmere Brown. So let's try that one. Let's not forget about our Satin Smooth lipsticks. Let's see. We can try Just Rosy. That I think is going to be a really pretty tint of pink on the lips. Maybe something like apple cider is kind of a red adjacent color to try. We are going to also try Terracotta. So let's flip the page and take a look here. What else we can pick? We can try another red adjacent in the Satin Smooth. That is Carnation Kiss. And I kind of want to try this Island Coral. Such a beautiful pink shade. Now, I don't like to overwhelm with different choices. I think when you have too much to pick from, it's really hard to pick something that you like because you think that there's always something better around the corner. So let's stick with these and take a look at what we think. my samples out of the way here. Now, we're going to create your personal color chart here with the swatches. And I like to swatch against this tape, which is the skin color. I think it tends to make a little bit more of a realistic swatch. So we're going to divide our two pages here. We are going to start with the cool. On this side. And on this side, we will do warm shades. At the top, we will do the color-rich lipstick. Color-rich lipstick. Color-rich lipstick. And at the bottom, we will do the satin smooth lipsticks. We'll write that once we get to it. So we're going to start with these cool color-rich lipsticks. Smooth swatch space. So let's take a look. So we have very, very nice wine cordial. That's this dark colors here. Soft shell pink, very light color. Cherry Jubilee, which is this dark color. And Park Avenue Orchids, which is our medium shade. And very, very nice. Let's take a look at what that one looks like again. That one is our red color that we're comparing the reds. So let's start with the soft shell pink. has a little bit of a sheer finish, as you can tell. If we compare it to the image though, the book swatch, it's actually quite similar, so we really like that one, I think, right? Yeah, it's very pretty pink, a little more bold perhaps, not if you're going for that nude look, but it is quite pretty. So now let's swatch Park Avenue Orchids. A little more bold color. Quite a lot of color payoff, as you can see. Definitely color rich, very, very beautiful. And it's definitely a cooler shade of lipstick. I see those light purpley hues coming through. Yeah. Okay. Now let's swatch Wine Cordial. It's a very pretty dark nude pink color. You can definitely see those dark shades coming through, and as you can see, these dark colors do tend to swatch a bit lighter than the actual bookshelves. It's a little bit more of a sheer finish compared to the Park Avenue Orchids. And let's check the Cherry Jubilee, which, as you can see, it looks very, very dark right out of the tube here, but funnily enough, it almost swatches lighter than the Wine Cordial. If you look at the difference between the two, the Wine Cordial almost leans slightly warmer, and the Cherry Jubilee has a little bit more heavy in the actual purple shades, and it swatches a little bit lighter. So this one is going to be a little bit more neutral actually than one would have guessed compared to this very dark picture. Finally, we have Very, Very Nice, which is our red test. And you can see that it does lean a little bit more red than the Park Avenue Orchids. It's not as purpley as the Park Avenue Orchids, but it is very, very similar, as you can tell. I actually have a customer who orders both of these because her sister loves Park Avenue Orchids and she loves the Very, Very Nice. There's a little bit of a feud over which one's the better one. Okay, so let's move on to the Satin Smooth lipsticks. You can see the difference in the finish of these ones. have Pink Parfait, which is the light shade. We have Hearts of Pink. Which is also a light shade, so we can compare that with the Pink Parfait. We have Porcelain Pink, another light pink. Those would be really good to compare together. And then we have our two brownish shades, the Raspberry Ice and the Malted Milk. So let's start with these light shades. We have the Porcelain Pink. Isn't that quite similar to the soft shell pink? Let's see how it looks though. That really shows the difference between the satin smooth and the color rich. Satin smooths are much more of a lip tint than a very bold lipstick. So very, very beautiful lip tint. Just give your lips a very hint of pink. And so for Hearts of Pink, that's a very, very beautiful light shade of pink. You can see that it's quite a bit brighter than the other one and has a little bit more of a purpley cast. Apologies about the Pink Parfait, but I cannot swatch it unfortunately because I realized we ran out. So let's try these brown shades. This one is the Malted Milk. It definitely has a brown, grayish cast to it. And that is just beautiful hint of color. Adds just a little bit of darkness to the lips. Let's compare it with the Raspberry Ice. Now those are very, very similar. But if you look closely, you can see that the Raspberry Ice is just a touch bit more pink than the Malted Milk. So I would say the Raspberry Ice is really showing the difference here with the Malted Milk. If your lips tend to be a little bit more gray cast or a pink cast, that would be your decision for which would be the perfect brownie nude lip for you. So let's now check the warm shades. Course with the color rich lipsticks. Just turn the page. look at our warm side. We have Sun Poppy. That's that super bold color we're excited to try. Island Coral. I believe that's on the next page. Cashmere Brown. The dark browns going to compare. We have Exotic Melon, which is a red, and Wood Rose, which is this medium shade. Let's double check how Island Coral looks. Island Coral is that pink color. I like to swatch next to the Sun Poppy to really show the contrast between the two medium shades. So let's first start with Wood Rose because that's the most safe color, I would say. Very beautiful, neutral, warm medium pink. It's definitely a favorite among a lot of my customers. It's just a go-to easy pink shade. And let's see what that looks next to Sun Poppy. Like I said, it's not so scary. When we compare it to the picture, it's definitely not this bright. It still has quite a lot of orangey shades, so it works for those who have quite a warm skin tone. And it is a little bit more bold than the Wood Rose, for example, but it's not that crazy. And let's compare that to Island Coral. We can see that these two together are both much more bright than the Wood Rose, but the Island Coral is a bit lighter and definitely leans a little more pink, while the Sun Poppy leans a little bit more orangey. So what we're looking at here is a lot more about subtle skin tone shades and lip shades rather than huge differences between colors, right? So let's take a look at the Cashmere Brown next. Definitely beautiful payoff for the Cashmere Brown, in my opinion. When we compare it to some of our brown shades over here, the Wine Cordial and the Cherry Jubilee, we do see that this is just leaning more warm, but the difference isn't huge. More purple shades over here, but it's a very subtle difference. And let's check this red, Exotic Melon. Not super red as the swatch shows. Quite a bit more pink. Definitely more reddish than these lighter shades. But leaning more pink rather than orange as a reddish shade. I would say these reds over here, the Berry Berry Nice, is quite a bit darker. And this one is just a bit lighter and more pink. the Satin Smooth lipsticks in the warm shades now. To pick from. We have Carnation Kiss, just on the next page, and Apple Cider, just this very warm reddish color. Terracotta, kind of our brown to check. Just rosy, just this color. We can swatch that next to the apple cider to see. And let's take a look. What does Carnation Kiss look like? It's quite a bit of a reddish colors. Let's do that one first, the Carnation Kiss. A little bit more of a payoff than the Satin Smooth gold colors, but still just a very beautiful, sheer, bright pink color. Yeah, it's just fantastic tint. It's going to give you a little bit more pink than, for example, these ones over here, but not too much. So let's take a look at apple cider and just a rosy. A little bit more payoff for this one too. I really like this one. It's a more mature color. It's giving more saturation, but it's darker, it's more rich. Slight brownish hues. And just rosy is going to be just a hair lighter and just a little bit more pink. More pink, pinky orange than this is more brown. Finally, let's take a look at the terracotta. This is more similar to the apple cider, but quite a bit more brown. Really like this one as a nude for darker skin tones. It's really kind of standing in the line of being a beautiful nude with just a little bit of boldness and saturation to it. It's just a beautiful color in my opinion. Okay. Now, I'm going to leave this with you. I never advise anybody to make a decision during our meetings. I think it's always best to sleep on it, think about it, really mull it over a little bit, and then make your decision. It's never a good idea to make super rash decisions on the spot. I feel like you're under pressure or something. So swatches. And I want you to give me a call tomorrow or in a couple days and let me know which ones you've picked out. Okay? You have until the end of the week to make your decision, because that's when I'm going to finalize the order, okay? Alright, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for inviting me in. I will be back, of course, in a couple months once we get the new catalog and the new campaign comes in.